everyone, welcome to my brand new channel, Lavender Haze. Today I'm going to be talking about the first thing that I would ask my parents to change if they had a do-over. In my last video, I went over a TikTok that I came across a little while ago. It was from an estranged mother who often gets asked, if you knew then what you knew now, what would you do differently? I was baffled to find out that this mother wouldn't change a thing, other than maybe holding them a little bit longer because she believes that they would still leave, regardless of if she changed anything. I feel like my own mother thinks the same way based on the many things that she's recently decided to be honest about. So I'm creating a series that describes the things that I would hope my parents would be willing to change if they had a do-over with the knowledge that they have now. The first thing I would change is the way that she spoke to me when she got angry. She would scream at me. My dad never screamed, and I don't have quite as strained of a relationship with him. He's gotten caught up between the situation between my mother and I, and yeah. So, the first thing that I would change, ask my parents to change, is to not scream at me. Please don't scream at me. Personally, I feel like this one is obvious. Nobody likes the feeling of being yelled at, let alone screamed at. So why is it okay to scream at children? I don't understand that. Now, before I get into it, I would like to try and get you to put yourself in a child's shoes so that you can understand what screaming at them does to their poor little bodies. To start, try to think about a time that you were screamed at. It can be any time recently or maybe in your childhood. Can you remember how it felt? Anyone can be the screamer, not just your parents, and it can be for any reason, but regardless, it doesn't feel good, does it? And I'm talking physically as well as emotionally. As an example, for me, I get very intense pain in my chest. And my body gets all jittery with adrenaline because I feel the desperate need to run. Because I was screamed at as a child, I haven't screamed at another person. I don't think I've ever screamed at another person. I can't. I don't scream at anyone now because I can't stand the feeling when someone does it to me. Like, even if it's not directed right at me, it still makes me feel that intense feeling. Now, just imagine to a child who doesn't understand what the screaming's even about. All they know is that mommy and daddy is yelling at them, and they must be bad. Mommy and daddy are scary, I must be bad. That's how it comes across to them. I have incredibly early memories of my childhood, and I can remember exactly how it felt when my mother screamed at me when I was a toddler. That instant fear that coursed through me, through my little body, would just have me running, crying, trying to hide, which of course would then make my mom mad, which would cause her to scream even more. She would scream to try and make me stop crying, only to make me cry harder. This would inevitably lead to spanking, which will be a point for another day. Alright, now for a personal example of how screaming can affect a child's entire life. I have a very early memory of my mother screaming at me. It was because I vomited on the floor. Many times. From what I can remember, this was the first time I'd ever been sick with the flu or food poisoning or whatever it was. As far as I know, I'd never been sick before. I thought that the feeling that I felt in my belly was because I had to poop. Now, all that stands out of that day is the screaming. Each time, right after I got sick, on the floor. Now, I have emetophobia. Or vomit phobia. Because now I am afraid to miss the toilet. I go into intense panic attacks if my stomach feels even a little off. Even now, 30 years later. This is just my earliest example that I can remember. Mom even admitted to taking out her frustrations on my sister and I when she worked at her high stress job. And the thing is, I don't think she ever realized that she never stopped being frustrated all throughout my childhood, into my teen years, into my adult years. Now, I want you all to know that I understand that screaming is a learned behavior. A person isn't just innately born knowing that screaming is the best way to express anger. No. We're taught as a community that negative emotions are bad, with certain exceptions for each gender for some reason. Women are expected to cry or be hysterical, whereas men, well, it's perfectly acceptable for them to rage. I find that it's very much the same way with parenting. I find that parenting styles are usually learned based on the way that you were raised. Either you learned that that is the best way to parent, or it teaches you that that's not the way to parent. More often than not, it seems like people lean more towards the former, that it's a good way to parent, simply because that is all that they knew. That would be understandable if these parents could listen when their own children finally speak up and say that it wasn't right, that it hurt them, and make amends now. You didn't know it back then, but they've told you now. Can't you listen to your children now? Can you let yourself be open to the fact that you messed up? Because it's okay. Messing up is human and it's completely forgivable, as long as you are able to admit that you made a mistake and vow never to do it again and actually follow through with that. Stop when they ask you to stop and say, I'm sorry, when you realize you messed up. It's not that hard. It's a little hit to the ego. But I don't understand why that's so difficult. And I would really appreciate it if someone could explain that to me. Because to me, it's not too late. Now that they're adults, it's not too late to make amends. But for some reason, most parents don't. Maybe it'll be easier to understand if I show you an incident of a parent intentionally screaming at their child just to make them listen. It might help you open yourself up to feeling exactly what that child felt.
Put the purse back, honey.
Now threaten her and see what happens.
Put the purse back now!
Now know that I normally won't be showing children's faces on my channel unless I need to as an example. Like here. I feel that it's necessary to show you the very moment that the child shows fear. Not only does the poor thing literally start when her mom yells at her to put the purse back, but then the fear in her face. And then she runs to listen to her mom because she's panicked. She's in fear that mommy's gonna do something because I was bad. I've noticed that many of these parents seem to feel like it's the best way to get their child to listen, but it only instills fear into them. Fear of the parent. of you. Now, I'll show you again, and I'll see if I can slow down the moments I was talking about so that I can point it out. Did you see that? The fear? It's just awful. Now, what I don't get is we don't like it when the government or royalty or whoever is governing us, we don't like it when they rule with fear. We call it tyranny. So, I honestly wonder why it's okay to rule children with fear. Why do you want to be a tyrant in your own house? Now, most parents' rebuttal is that it didn't hurt them. They turned out just fine. I, like so many other people, seriously question this. Now, learned behavior aside, there's also the fact that hurt people hurt people. It's a sad fact. And I want you all to know that it's not okay. And sadly, I can attest on how true this is. Growing up, I learned that screaming was the best way to express anger. Not just by yelling, but full on screaming. I can't even show you an example. I can't even bring myself to do it anymore. So, I would scream at my cats whenever they misbehaved. And they would be so scared that they would try running with their claws out on the hardwood floor and end up going nowhere. One time I actually scared one of my cats so much that she actually pooped on the floor. I felt awful whenever I did it. But I thought that was necessary. It's normal to feel bad about punishing your kids, right? No. No, it is not. It wasn't until I worked at a pet store that I discovered new ways of looking after your animals. Mainly with love and soft tones. I had to learn each cat's language to understand best how to teach each cat. None of them included screaming at them. My youngest, I can proudly say, I have never screamed at, not once. Because it was after seeing that fear and hating myself for doing it that once I learned a better way, I changed instantly. I made every effort I could to not scream at my cats anymore. If I had to scream in frustration, I would scream into a pillow. Now, all 3 of my cats love spending almost every minute of every day with me. I don't think there's rarely a time I'm in the living room and they're not all just hanging out with me. Sometimes it's a big cat pile. I love it. For me, learning how wrong I was and that there were so many different ways to teach an animal helped me to change. I understand not everyone is like this. It might be a bit difficult, but I'd like you to try and open up your mind to how the other person, in this case, your child, feels about the way that you treated them. So I've come up with 4 ways that you can take out your frustrations and avoid screaming at your child if you were able to make a do-over. Now, while I talk about each suggestion, I would like you to open up your mind to the past, to your early days of parenting. And I'd like you to ask yourself, would this have made my life easier? Would it have cost me everything, or more than everything, to do this rather than screaming at my child? What would it cost me to apologize to my child when I make a mistake and scream by accident? But most importantly, can you think about how your child felt in these moments by remembering how it felt when your parents screamed at you? Do you truly want them to feel the way you did? Or would you rather do better than the way that you were treated? So up here, I'll have the list just hanging out so that you don't forget about it, because I realize there's a lot of questions. It can be hard to remember them. Just gonna leave them right there. 1. Deal with your work stress away from home. I've come to learn that frustration is the main symptom of stress. Frustration can lead to short tempers and hot heads, aka screaming. You need to find a way to deal with the stress at work. You can do this by going to the gym or finding a calm task to calm your nerves. Something interesting to you that is quick, like reading a book or listening to a podcast. Maybe even screaming to that screaming music that I can't stand because my ears can't take it. Maybe even just scream in the car. You don't have to scream to screaming music, just scream in the car. Anything. Whatever it is that you can find work that works for you, do that. Do that, and do not let your frustrations out on your child. 2. Do not show the frustrations you have towards your children to your children. Go off on your own to let it out. Especially if it's one of your children that's making you angry. It's bound to happen. But you don't have to let your children see your frustrations. Scream into a pillow, get yourself a punching bag, or do a short workout. Physical activity is the best way to let off steam. Once you have your frustrations under control, then, and only then, can you talk it out with your child and discipline them appropriately if needed. But screaming at them, it doesn't accomplish anything. 3. Never discipline when frustrated. Now, it's my experience that screaming is the result of trying to enforce your authority while you are angry. That doesn't accomplish anything. The only thing I can remember is the punishment or my mom screaming at me, not the why of why I was punished. Literally just the punishment. Screaming doesn't help the situation. In my opinion, it only makes things worse. It adds even more unnecessary stress when the situation can be handled calmly. And if you show those calm emotions to your child, they will grow up learning how to be calm. I don't know how to be calm. 4. Yes, accidents will happen. However, the important thing is what you do after you've been able to cool off. Go to your child and apologize to them. Tell them that it wasn't their fault that mommy or daddy screamed at them, and that there was something going on inside of yourself, not your child. Because any child that is screamed at, they automatically think they did something bad, even if they didn't. And not even that they did something bad, it's more like they themselves are bad. There's something wrong with them inside. It will help them to understand that screaming isn't about them. Communication is key here. Talk it out, and I guarantee that your child will appreciate that you are thinking of their feelings. And they'll forget about the screaming. As long as you don't always do it. So, what are your thoughts as parents? Would these have been doable changes if you were able to do a do-over? The way I think about it is that without these intensely angry moments, there would be a whole lot less tension in the house. Your child wouldn't be afraid of what mood you might be walking in with when you get home. Or your child wouldn't have to watch all of your tiny little facial expressions or body movements just to know if they're safe around you. Because that's what letting your frustrations out on your child does. Or just simply screaming at them if you're mad. Screaming instills fear, not a correction in behavior. To the children who were screamed at, I'd like you to comment below what your thoughts are on the subject. Do you agree that screaming makes things worse? If not, why? Is there anything you'd like to add? I would really like to hear everyone's thoughts, so let's get a conversation going. Well, that's it for this video. Next, I'll be talking about how I wish my parents had learned better ways to discipline me. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. The more engagement I can get, the better I will be seen to be able to spread my message. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you all in the future. That's not right. I'm having a hard time with this one. Dusty. I can't stand the feeling. Oh, look at Dusty. Dusty! Okay. Because as a result, I am now afraid to miss the toilet. The toilet? Like we are taught as a community, the negative emotions are frustration. Like in that TikTok. Fuck, I'm just gonna redo this whole fucking paragraph.